Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Tony Dickinson, President of NCMIC Finance Corporation. Thanks for joining me, Tony.
To be here, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the program, sir. You know, NCMIC was one of the first clients I had when I started with Lease Team back in the day.
Yeah.
Know quite a few of your team members. I think Gary just retired.
You did. Yeah.
He had a good career there, but love coming to your offices. You got a great group of people that you manage, sir.
Yeah. Appreciate that. And the team and I value our relationship that we have with you. I know you've known us for a long time, and it's been kind of fun to watch your path and how you've progressed and how, as you've continued to grow and expand, you've kept in touch with us and our team and our company. And it's kind of what this business is all about, relationships and being with people. Do that in the banking world. Can never burn any bridges because it's just, people move from one location to the next, but stay connected to each other.
You hit the nail on the head there. All you have is one reputation if you're not doing the right thing at all times. Good luck.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tony, for those people who haven't met you yet, do you mind just kind of introducing yourself and career to date in equipment finance?
You bet. So today, Tony Dickinson serve as the president of the finance company at NCMIC. And so people refer to us as NCMIC, NCMIC. It's the actual name is National Chiropractic Mutual Insurance Company, and kind of a fun backstory on the history, a little bit of maybe a little 30-second commercial here. But we started in 1946 with a group of chiropractors that were unable to get medical malpractice insurance. So they came together and they formed a mutual, and that's what we became. And so this group of 5 chiropractors self-funded, started a mutual company. And because of that, we work with 2 out of 3 chiropractors across the United States. And we've been in business on the insurance side for coming up on 80 years now. And we started a finance company about 40 years ago. And so just like we were started, for chiropractors by chiropractors, we started the finance company at the request of chiropractors, and then became small businesses to really help serve them. And when I think about, certainly our roots are in chiropractic, and we care a lot about that profession, and that's where a lot of our financing takes place. But it's really, a chiropractor is really the essence of small business in America. If you think about a chiropractic location, it's usually a sole proprietor, it's an entrepreneur, it's maybe 1 to 10 employees, and there's not a main street in America that you don't see a chiropractic office. And what they're trying to do is really fill a need in their community and operate as a small business. And so today, whether we're providing financing for a chiropractor or for a bakery or for a dry cleaner or somebody, it's really the essence of small business in America that we're trying to provide that funding for. And so that's kind of a little bit about who we are and what we do, and my experience in equipment finance and in running a finance company in the banking world. Really started at the dinner table for me. My dad was a banker. I did the same bank for 44 years, and so while we broke bread as a family, we would talk about financial literacy. And while we would talk about what was going on at school, we would also talk about the family balance sheet and some stuff like that. So it was always inherent in me. I just don't know that I wanted to get in this profession as much as I just always wanted to be like my dad. And that's what he did. And so it kind of naturally took me there. And then I kind of grew up through the large banking world and worked for one of the largest banks in the world, and then had an opportunity to come to this company, NCMIC, and see it at a mutual company side, and see it as a smaller finance company side, and kind of get the best of being both an independent and then seeing the large banking side of it and having both sides of that. And I think that's helped me be well rounded in my experience, and been very fortunate that the team here is, for my money, it's the best in the business, but certainly very tenured and experienced. And they've taught me a lot along the way too. So I've benefited by having some people that have been doing this for a long time and even longer than me, and learning a lot from them along the way.
Perfect, and thank you for that background there. Now, was it when you graduated college, you say, okay, I'm going for the biggest bank in the area? Was your dad like, hey, why don't you try a smaller one? Or you just want to say, you know what, I'm going for the biggest one here?
Yeah, like a lot of people, I think there's usually a significant other involved in those decisions. And so, while I was in school, I actually worked in consumer electronics, and for better or for worse, I worked at Radio Shack, a company that's
I saw that.
no
Glad you
longer in
brought that up.
business.
I saw
And
that on your
yeah,
LinkedIn. I saw that on your LinkedIn page. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, I mean, we're certainly keeping on my LinkedIn because I'm proud of that experience. And my college buddies would probably tell you they went out of business because of me. I don't know if that's the case or not, uh, but it was a wonderful experience.
Right.
Interned with him in college, ran my first Radio Shack store while I was a senior in college. Became the youngest district manager in their company history, but somewhere along the way, I met my wife, and we were on different sides of the state, and we were about 3 hours apart. And while we were dating and became engaged, we just decided, we're like, where did we want to live? And Des Moines, Iowa was somewhere that we felt like was home for us and be a great place to get married and start a family. And so 19 years ago now. We got married, we bought a house, and I had an opportunity to go to Wells Fargo and get a job in Des Moines, and we did it all in the same summer. And so didn't necessarily go looking for the largest bank out there, but it was the largest employer, non-governmental employer in the state of Iowa, and a ton of opportunity. And they created a new role and recruited me into it. So I had a great opportunity to come to a great organization and work with a lot of great people and be part of one of the largest employers in Iowa. And if you're in love with the state of Iowa, like I am as an Iowa kid, it's good to be at a place that there's a lot of different upward mobility and opportunities. And I had a great 12-year experience there and really enjoyed it, and thought I'd be there my whole career. It just so happens that somebody I worked with at Wells, who was a great boss and mentor, became the CEO at NCMIC. And when he called
Uh,
me, it was like something I couldn't say no to. And so, I'd follow him into a burning house if he said, let's go. And so I followed him here, and it's been a great move.
well, that's a testament to your work ethic. If someone trusts you like that too, where it's like, hey, look, I took this role, you're coming with. So
Yeah, I don't know if he would tell you it was his best decision ever, but we're still doing it together. So we've been together for like 20 years now.
that's awesome. That's awesome. So Radio Shack. So my junior year of college, I had an internship at J.C. Penney. And at
Yeah,
the age of 21, I was running their biggest women's accessories department from a company perspective. So I get
nice.
that.
Well,
You
that's a
kind of like
good
the
they're
story.
they were like Dallas based too, weren't they?
Um, I believe so. I had an internship in my senior year. They were like, hey, you did well. We'd like to offer you, the ability to come work with us. We'll give you a signing bonus. And this was October. I think it was on like, maybe a Friday morning, and Thursday nights in college, you go out. I got this
Sure.
phone call, and I'm like, what's the biggest store you got? They were like, the Bronx. I'm like, let's go there.
Yeah, good for you. I had a cousin who was a buyer for J.C. Penney, and she was in Dallas, and so I felt like that was the headquarters, and Radio
Yeah.
Shack was headquartered in Fort Worth, and I always thought I was
Uh,
going to live in Fort Worth and kind of work my way up through the corporate ranks there. But yeah, I enjoyed that experience, but I really enjoyed the Dallas Fort Worth area. It was a good area to spend a lot of time in.
Perfect. Our first EF Cares event this year. Sorry to get off topic here. We're going to be down
Sure.
there in April. So see if you want to
Okay.
come down and be on a panel.
Yeah. Hard to say no to.
Awesome. So you touched on something as far as going from Wells Fargo to NCMIC. Going from a big banking institution like that to, I mean, NCMIC, how many total employees do you guys have as a, well, you have company employees, but then you have equipment finance side too.
Yeah. Yeah. So the total company is 213.
Okay.
And 16 of those would be in the lending business side of it. So we're small enough but big enough, and even 213, we talk a lot about how we try to punch above our weight. Being around for, like I said, almost 80 years, we're 1.2 billion in assets. So we're, a real legitimate size company, and I think with only 213 people, there's a lot of productivity that you get for having a large enough but small enough, but certainly enough capital to be out there and to deploy that, and help people when it comes to access to capital to grow their business. And we got plenty of that. So that's the whole diversified model of having this insurance company that's been around for 80 years, and then the finance company that's been around for 40 years, but seems kind of early in its infancy compared to the entire company around for 80.
Sure, sure. Do you find it's easier to make decisions now compared to before at Wells?
Yeah, and think about, I've been here 8 years now. So when I left Wells Fargo, was probably the kind of peak time where they were dealing with tons of regulators, and they had some of the sales scandal stuff that they had to deal with and work their way through. And so that was a lot of just, it was hard to get anything done at that time. That wasn't really representative of my entire experience. But anytime you have an organization where we feel like 1.2 billion is pretty sizable, you're talking
Yep.
trillions with a company that size. 213 people here, there was 250,000 there, just totally different animals. And so I miss, having huge budgets and, going after big whales and that kind of stuff. And I miss my stock options. That's about all I miss. And I had a wonderful experience there, and I miss the people for sure. But that's about all I miss, because we might not get as many things, big things done as maybe I was able to, but to get those big things done, it was trains, planes, and automobiles. I had to fly across the world to go to different meetings, to bring in more attorneys, to bring in more compliance people, to bring in more regulatory people. And it might be death by a thousand cuts. It might take me 2 years to get to the starting line. It might take me 2 years to get to the finish line, and we might not even get there. It might just die on the operating table. Whereas here, 213 people, 205 of us are in the office, just about every day. We get in a room, we look each other in the eyes, we make a decision, we move on. And I might hear no more often, but at least it's not going to take 2 years of my life to get to that no. And my boss kind of told me early on, he's like, you're going to have to just probably take a zero off of everything you're used to. And so whether that was a charitable contribution that used to be $100,000 and maybe it's $10,000 now, or maybe it was $1 million loan and now it's going to be $100,000 loan. But if you can just kind of orient yourself and get your mind right or about it, and then know that you get to make these decisions and make them pretty quick. And then how does that translate to our customer? We always say, the best thing I can do for you is give you a quick yes. But the second best thing I can do for you is give you a quick no. And so I don't drag you along. I don't, make you go through 100 hoops and then not get you the answer that you're looking for. You might not love it when we give you a decline or we give you a no. But we're not gonna drag you along, and you're gonna know right away. And then if we give you a decline, there's an explanation there, and then hopefully there's a little bit of education. And if it's a stronger balance sheet, we'll kind of talk you through that and what that looks like, and then you're better prepared the next time it comes around. But we also got to understand that sometimes the worst thing we can do is give somebody more debt, because if they're having a hard time servicing what they have now, we're just gonna, throw more water on somebody that's drowning, and that's not going to be good for you either. And so you got to understand that side of the business too, and be willing to tell somebody the truth all along the way. And that's one thing that you should expect from us and be able to count on, is that we're going to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because it's like, oh, if I just
Sure.
had this one more machine, I could produce this much more revenue,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah,
A lot of the time
but
that's what you think. Yeah. And sometimes that's true, but other times it's not. And it's, you know,
yeah,
we have a responsibility to tell you that when we believe that to be the case.
no, no, absolutely. And then I'm sure you don't miss the meetings to talk about a meeting to have the real meeting.
Yeah. If back in the day, you were talking about, how long you've been working from home. It was, I prefer this type of Zoom, at least being able to see each other. But I was on more conference calls than anybody should have to be in their lifetime. I was on more, planes, trains, and automobiles to get to meetings, to have these meetings than anybody should have to do in their lifetime. I mean, I think we have, if COVID gave us anything, it gave us less reason to travel for that kind of stuff, and more accessibility when it comes to this kind of Zoom, Teams type things. But yeah, there's just a lot of red tape and bureaucracy in a big company, and banks don't have a long reputation for being, fast anyways. And then you take
Or
a really big bank, and you take all the, scrutiny that they were under, and things really slowed down, and it was just hard to make a lot of progress sometimes. But I definitely don't miss that part of it.
yeah, the T&E budgets are always nice, right? I mean,
Sure.
it's interesting. Yeah, just take a zero off it, so then you can use that in reverse when he's like, "So what are your numbers for 2025?" You're like, "Oh,
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not gonna deliver as big of a, net income number either, so get ready for that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah." No, I just went on my own a couple years ago, and it's different when it's now. Granted, I always treated things like it was my money because I had a certain
Sure.
budget that it was my budget to spend, and you have to spend that, or you don't.
Yeah.
You always want to come a little bit under, but it's like use it or lose it. But then when it's like, okay, well, who's paying for that? It's like
Looks
that's
like it's you.
me. All right, all right.
Yeah,
So
you
just
appreciate having a little bit of an expense account sometimes.
absolutely. And to your point on the throughout COVID, I'm sure you were like me. You have someone on the hook for a potential deal. You jump on a plane because I'm a big face-to-face person.
Yeah.
But there's, I think, the 1 to 5. I think the 5 call closes of the past now through Zoom and other tools. I think you can probably get through steps 1, 2, 3 virtually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're spot on there, and, that's been a good outcome.
But what I will say is that steps 3 through 5, I think if you put that foot forward to get in front of that end prospect, I think a lot of companies still aren't doing that because I don't know if they're trying to save money or maybe they're just not comfortable. But it's all about the relationship, in my opinion, and that's what's going to separate you if you do invest that.
Yeah, I agree. You still gotta have a differentiator, and maybe it's because nobody's suits fit anymore, so they don't know what to, throw on. But
Guilty,
yeah.
guilty, almost back to pre-COVID, but you know,
Yeah, I'll be good if we don't have to have the ties come back anytime soon. I'm not gonna miss the tie, but it's nice to put on a suit every once in a while and bring your A game.
absolutely, absolutely. So, from a Wells perspective, were you on the EF side or were you on the commercial banking side,
The community bank side. So I
community
got a
bank
little
side?
bit exposure on the business banking piece of it, and then the retail banking. We had both on the community bank side, and so it was a really good blend of having both business and consumer, and then really. kind of, I grew up in a small town. It was one of those communities where everybody had to kind of pitch in and do their part to make a strong, healthy community. And the Wells CEO, came to Des Moines early in my career, spent some time with them, and he said, there's never been a healthy bank in an unhealthy community. And so it talked about how you got to really pitch in and do your part, whether that's through volunteerism or that's through charitable contributions, or if it's even through, making good lending decisions so that there's access to capital and people have, the financial education and things they need to be good, strong borrowers to, build up your community. When your community's thriving, then your bank's going to thrive, and it goes in that order. You need the community to thrive for your bank to thrive. And so, um, just got a good experience of seeing things, kind of the whole picture, both consumer, business, and how it's all tied together with giving back and being involved in your community. And that really resonated with me.
Well, then I know NCMIC has that golf tournament. You have to forgive me. I'm not sure what the proceeds go to. They have every year, but you know, being at Wells and having that kind of philosophy, you were just saying volunteerism or giving back to the community is very important to you. Was that also a good factor of you going to NCMIC, Tony?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so NCMIC, our vision is we take care of our own. And I went to grad school. I've read all the business books. Everybody's got a vision statement, right? And they want to put it up on the walls in their boardroom, and they're all noble, and they all, make a lot of sense, and they're mostly aspirational. But this is the first place I've been to that you really see it in action. And when you think about this, we take care of our own. How do we define our own? It's our team. So how do we take care of our team? The people that work here for sure. And we got hundreds of examples of those things, from little things, from pancake breakfast, to big things, to we did a special holiday bonus for everybody this year that was pretty significant, and a lot of different things in between. But we also define our own as our customers, and how do we really take care of our customers. And so whether that's the sole proprietor, one person chiropractic office, or if it's a large manufacturing company, and how do we help take care of those folks. And I think one of the ways it's been really important to us from throughout our history, but particularly from COVID on, is being able to provide that access to capital. Some people might not always love the rate, right? And I understand that argument sometimes. But what we haven't done, that I think others have done, is we're not playing the hokey pokey where we're in the market, we're out of the market. We like this business, we don't like that business. We try to be consistent. And so you know what you're going to get with us. And part of being consistent is always open for business. And we've always been open for business. And, with that strong balance sheet, with those strong assets, we're not worried about, oh, we can't lend, tomorrow because we're out of money here, or we got, a problem on our balance sheet because we put a bunch of bad loans on, and now we're worried about cleaning them up and dealing with that. And so we've been consistent and always in business and there for our customers. And then that third component of taking care of our own is our community. And whether it's over $1 million a year that we give back to our community, or supporting our team members with anybody here that's on a board. And of these 213 team members, there's probably 150 that are on boards. It's a really significant number. And we make an investment in anybody that's on a board. We make an investment into their nonprofit. So we know that a lot of times with board responsibility, they want you to give your time, your talent, your treasure. And so we expect that you're going to write a personal check, but we're also going to write a check at the company level to help support you in your in nonprofit endeavors too. And we're going to give you time off to do those things and to volunteer. And we're going to lift you up and celebrate that. And we're going to go to your events when you have a gala or a golf tournament or a fun run or whatever. We're going to be a sponsor at those things and go to the events too. And so, I I personally serve on 3 boards. I do it both locally and nationally with some organizations, and then, I could probably go to a rubber chicken dinner about every week, and I do probably at least every month, just in supporting our community and supporting the team members that are, part of that, but it's also, my wife and I, it's kind of a way that we have some built-in date nights, she loves to get dressed up for the galas, and, we go there and we eat some dry chicken and enjoy the time, together and bid on some auction items, and so that's a chance for us to have some built-in time together, but also, be involved and give back, and that means a lot to us too, and I'm not certainly unique in that regard. There's a lot of people that are doing that around our company.
Awesome. Yeah, that ratio is admirable.
Yeah,
More than half of your organization. That's like 70%. That's
it's
crazy.
impressive. There's people really believe it and they walk the talk, and that's just fun to be around.
It's fantastic. Community impact is you said a lot of that stuff there. Might have to have a follow-up conversation at some point. But I also
Yeah,
like
we'd
the
love to, and honestly, we do it because it's the right thing, but it drives engagement, so people feel better about their employer and wanting to come to work and having those things in common, and it drives business. It's again, it's not why you do it, but if you and I, are both on a board together, we're more likely to want to do business together. If you and I, um, if you're talking to 3 finance companies or 3 banks, and all things are relatively created equal, and you know that we're supporting the organizations that you care about, you're going to want to do business together. I mean, those things just they go hand in glove, and again, that's not why you do it, but it ends up working out.
business is a byproduct sometimes of just that networking. And like I said, you want to be around like-minded people, but also diversity of thought in regards to when they select people for those boards. It's not
Sure.
just all guys in blue suits. It's a
Yeah.
very diverse group. But I wanted to circle back to we take care of our own. I mean, what a great servant-based model. And I know I've seen that in your office, I guess, before. But, it's
Yeah,
definitely from a
it's
leader perspective, it's flipping that pyramid upside down and just working. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and if you think about, the people that have come before us inside this organization, you think about our board of directors, these are just people that model the way, that show you how it is to take care of their own, how well they've treated us, how well that they've laid the foundation for what we're building off of now, how well they've established this business, and how they've dreamt about this being, you go back to 1946 and what they dreamt about what was possible. And this is also the first place that I've ever had the chance to, when you're in a big company, like we talked about where I came from, it's super shareholder driven, and you can debate if that's right or wrong, but that's just the way it is. The shareholders have an expected return, and you got analysts that are, when you're a big company in particular, they're evaluating your stock every day and every quarter for sure, and every year, and they have expectations and share price expectations, and you got to deliver on that. And towards the end of my time there was a lot of knee-jerk reactions based on what was going on with the stock price. And so it was hard to really look out more than a quarter or more than a year. And everybody wants to have, 1, 3, and 5-year plans, but it wasn't really feasible at that time to do those things. Here from day one, it was definitely 1, 3, and 5-year plans. But what my boss, our CEO, has been really good about is really challenging us to think about, you got to deliver on your 1, 3, and 5-year plans, but what do the next 75 years look like? And that's just something that's different and empowering that you just don't really get. And 75 years from now, I don't think I'll still be working here. I hope I'm alive, but that'd make me pretty old too, I guess. So I'm definitely not going to be working. But to think about, how did you build a legacy? How did you build a foundation for somebody? Maybe it's my kids that'll be working here. and what did you do to prepare for that next 75 years? And so to be able to think that far out really
Sure.
challenges you to be strategic in a different way, but it really also, it really invigorates you in different ways because you're like, you're not going to do something stupid, first of all, because your business won't be here in 75 years. But to think about things that you could do right now that could have a lasting impact for that long, that's pretty cool and powerful as well.
It's fantastic. That's fantastic. I do want to shift a little bit, if you don't mind, and talk about something very important to me. It's like work-life balance. But I'm going to kick that off by saying one of the reasons you have to come to work every day is because we have to pay for our kids' travel ball,
It's cheap. It's
club,
cheap,
club
right?
sports,
Yeah.
club everything, practice, lessons. It's like, where, where's all of it go?
Yeah. It's just like a ATM machine that they just keep tapping into every day.
It's like the bats keep going up. They just spent like $500 on a bat. I'm like, come on, dude. It's like, really?
Yeah. You
Like,
can't just have one bat now. You gotta have like three of them. So there's 1,500 bucks.
yes, uh, but
Yeah.
yeah. So work-life balance. Tony, and how do you juggle that? With, your career and your family.
So I had a mentor friends, maybe 10 years ago, told me that she said, I just threw balance out the window. And she's like, I'm looking for the blend. And so I was asking her, tell me more about that. And really kind of how do you, if you're trying to balance something, right? If you got a scale here, to be perfectly in balance, they all have to be equal and weigh the same. And how's that ever going to happen in your life, right? So if you're always trying to achieve something that's not possible, it just seems like a defeating task. And that made a lot of sense to me. It was like, what am I going to do? Take 24 hours in a day and split 12 right down the middle and say, here's your business, here's your personal, and just make it all equal, and it'll just never work, right? And so how do you blend it together? And so as I asked her, tell me more about that, it was really wherever it can make sense, how do you integrate the two things together? And so whether that's, I think first and foremost, it's just having really great communication, both, at home and in the office. And my team's going to know that if my kid has a game at 4 o'clock, then I'm probably out here at 3:30 and I'm heading to the game. And I'm not going to apologize for it because I want them to be able to do the same thing. But if that means I got to go back to the office or jump online when I get home that night, then I'm also not going to apologize to my family for that. I'm just going to try to make it all work. And so I think, where I talked about how maybe my dad had this blend going on and I didn't even know it, where he would talk to me about his business at the dinner table. I try to do the same thing with my kids. And so that maybe they understand my business a little bit better and maybe they can appreciate when I have to go on a business trip and maybe I'll miss something, but I make sure to not miss, the big things. I'm going to be home for your birthday and I'm going to be home for your games, but I might miss a practice. And that's why I've always tried to coach their stuff, but I'm usually like the assistant coach or the third guy on the bench type thing, because I don't want to let down all the other kids either by, missing something. But
Sure.
so you're not gonna get to all of it wherever I can blend it together. And I think it's just come from really being open and honest with my family and with my team, at work, of kind of here's how this thing's gonna operate. And then when you get there, just be where your feet are. People always say that, but just be where your feet are. And so don't be at my kid's game and be distracted by my phone because there's something going on at work. And when I'm at work, I don't need my family calling me all day long, asking me when I'm going to be home for dinner. But when I get there, I need to be where I'm at and need to be present and need to, make a difference, whether that's at home or at work. And so when I kind of did that shift of trying to blend it all together and make it all work, it unburdened me by the whole thought of I got to balance this all out and try to split my time equally and like let's blend it together. And like at our company where we have our company holiday party, we invite our families and we invite Santa, and so the kids can come see Santa and they can play games, and there's things for the kids and there's things for the adults, and have that whole thing be together. And we want to know more about you, and we want to know about your family, and we want to know your kids, and we want to watch your kids grow up and go to college and get jobs, and we want to support them along the way, and we want them to know that we're proud of their parent for working here, and their parent has a successful career here that helps pay for your bat that you have on your U trip team, and help pay for that camp that you went to, and help pay for your trombone, in the band, and all those things. But we also want to make sure that mom and dad can go to the band concert and can go to the baseball game and can go take you to college on your first day and do that kind of stuff. And so I think it's all just trying to blend that together. And that's really helped, just orient my mind in a way that feels like I can be successful. I'm not perfect and I got to get better, every year at how I do this, but it's definitely taken a load off of me of trying to find a perfect balance.
Well said. Some great advice. I do try to be as present as possible. It's just hard. Like you've gone all week, and next thing you know, it's like a tournament that's probably an hour and a half away, and I'm sitting there in between games with a jetpack in my computer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. There's no doubt
you know,
about it. I don't like our freshman baseball games are at like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm thinking to myself, does anybody have a job here? Like, how do you go to these games at 10 o'clock in the morning? And you just can't make them all. I mean, I don't know about you with your son, but my boys played 126 baseball games combined last summer. Like, you're not going to be at all of them, but be present at the ones that you're at, and make the most out of it. And they seem like they understand.
my daughter's 7. It's a little harder for her. Dad, why do you have to travel so much? It's like
Yeah.
you went on 5 airplanes last year. Fine. Okay.
Yeah.
There's reasons why you went on 5. Right?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
relax. Relax. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tony. So,
You bet.
I asked everyone who comes on the program to give me a little fun fact about themselves. So, outside of NCMIC, um, you know, what do you enjoy doing besides coaching? What's
Mm.
funny though is I'm actually that third coach as well because I like to be there with the boys, but I don't
Yeah.
have the time to fully dedicate to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, so I don't know if there's any fun facts about me. I don't know how fun I am or interesting, but my best answer to this type of question is I'll kind of give you three things that are all related together. And one, I tell everybody I have a Heisman Trophy. Then I tell everybody that Madden, the video game, that I was part of naming that, and then Callaway, the golf brand, is based off of my family, and so it's a little bit like the Easter Bunny, where you don't want your kids to ever find out the truth. But our oldest son, his name's Heisman. So when I tell people I have a Heisman Trophy, it's not for anything to do with my football playing days, but for the name of my son. And our middle kid, Madden, you got Madden, the video game, and then our daughter, our youngest, is Callaway. And so when you have a Heisman, a Madden, and a Callaway at home, that tends to be a fun fact because not too many people have those unique names that we've come across.
That's awesome. And did the missus fight you at all on those? Is she an
That,
avid
that's
sports
a
person
that's
too? Like
probably a
no
whole
pushback? No pushback?
it's a whole podcast for a different day, but the short version is she's an elementary PE teacher. She has 750 kids at any given time. She's done it for 20 years. And so, while we were pregnant, I love how the guy says we were pregnant, right? Like I didn't have anything to do with it other than, the starting point of it, I guess. But I I would say something like, how about Jesse as a name? And she'd be like, Jesse, in 1999, Jesse had a bloody nose in my gym. And I always think of Jesse the bloody nose. And I'm like, well, I've tried
Oh,
every, normal quote unquote name out there and you've shot them all down. So I just started tossing around names like Heisman, and she told me I was ridiculous. But by the time she had her epidural and it was kind of rushed into a C-section, I was able to get that one slid in there. So, and once you have a Heisman, you're not going back after that. So it's easier to get the other names.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that, Tony.
you bet.
And my last question I have for you is: at the end of the day, uh, why should a chiropractor or anyone want to do business with NCMIC?
So hopefully for a lot of those reasons that we talked about all throughout here during the conversation, but you're talking about a reputable company that's been around for almost 80 years, and with our track record of speed and efficiency, and really caring about our own, like we talked about, and I think you've seen that whether you've done business with us or you've talked to other people that do business with us, that we take care of our own is real, and those relationships that we have mean a lot, and that experience that you have from the team who's been doing this for a long time. You got a lot of tenure, you got a lot of expertise, and you got a track record of really consistently and ethically and doing what we say we're going to do and telling you the truth, both the good and the bad, and telling you the truth. But then we're going to be with you, throughout the way. And so, I think about how we went through with things with COVID. We modified 25% of our loan portfolio during that time because we know people that were stressed, and we know borrowers were stressed, and they had a lot of questions on their mind. And that's just one example of how we work with people, and we want to be there. I mean, our goal is to get you through paying as agreed and to get that whole piece of equipment paid off and you enjoying the benefits of it. And then hopefully at some point you want to add another piece of equipment and we do it all over again. And we can do that for the course of, 30 years that you're in business or that you're in practice. And we're there with you over time as you want to continue to expand and grow. And so we're going to work with you all along the way. And we're going to do that in a way that we're thinking about how we have repeat business, and we do that together, and how someday you're going to transition your business to the next generation, or you're going to transition your business to the next buyer, and we want to be there and be part of that. And that's that whole 75 years down the road mentality. That's what we want to do, is grow and expand. And as it's also that whole, healthy bank and a healthy community, is your business is doing well and thriving, we're going to benefit from that, but we want your business to do well and thriving and do that first. And so I think that's the kind of company that you're looking to do business with. That's the kind of company that we are. And and we've done that for a long period of time.
Awesome, Tony. Well, thank you very much for your time today, sir. Congratulations on all you've done the last 8 years at NCMIC, and excited to see what the future of the organization holds.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate this relationship, and it's been great to have known you for this long, and look forward to continue to grow our careers together.
Absolutely, sir. We'll be talking soon, Tony. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Thank you.